Chapter 16. Tried and True. "All right, Andou. We'll see what we can do," said Maho as both she and Marie left Andou's cell. As they left the cell block, a man walked in and knocked on Andou's cell door. "Get up, you. Your hearing's now," said the man. "Now? But I'm barely awake," muttered Andou. The man opened the door and picked Andou up, pulling her along into a small courtroom. Andou's eyes struggled a bit at adjusting to the light in the room. The man sat her at a small podium before a row of people and two banks for people to sit, one on either side. She looked around and spotted Marie, who she knew was going to show up, but she remembered Maho telling her that she'd be there too. She didn't see Maho yet. Why had Marie arrived but not Maho? She turned to her left and spotted Elena and Oshida sat at one of the banks. Turning back to the row before her, she noticed that it was sans one person, or there was an abnormally large gap between board members. "Please look here for identification," said the man at the front of the row. She did so, staring right into his eyes. "Are you Reina Andou?" asked the man. "I am," replied Andou. "And you know that you are being tried for expulsion from the school?" "Well, I guess I know now," replied Andou. "Sir, the defendant is willing to plead guilty on all charges, on the one condition that we let her co-conspirators go. Is this an exchange you are willing to make?" asked Oshida. "I think that sounds like a fair trade," said the BC Freedom headmaster. The other board members looked at him, causing him to sit back and hide himself. "Are you open to this trade, Andou? Understand that this will ruin any future chances that you have at getting any education in this country, and you will open yourself to further litigation from the school for monetary or material compensation in a real court of law." "I understand. And if it's what I must do for my peers to live better than I, then I shall," said Andou. "Wait," cried Marie from the back of Andou. "If she is expelled, then I must be expelled too. I was complicit in the use of tanks on the demonstration that led to this." "Use of tanks?" asked one of the board members. "Miss Marie," exclaimed Oshida, "it's true. We used tanks on their protest, which led to the first real fights. If she's to be punished, I must be too. A commander looks out for those under her, and is responsible for the ship and the souls under her," expressed Marie. "Can you explain this further?" asked one of the board members to Marie. "I think the better explanation would come from these three," said another voice behind them. Andou turned to see Maho and a group of gendarmes holding Lisa and Elise. The girls moved forth and were stood at the stand beside Andou. "You can either tell the truth, or I shall explain myself in an unfavorable way, as you might put it," growled Maho. "Your Honors," began Lisa, We are responsible for the use of tanks on the protest that took place a week ago. We convinced the headmaster of the school to use tanks against the protests, and we gave plans to the examination students to sneak onto the other side of the ship in order to provoke a fight between the two factions." "You dolt!" cried Elena. "Don't admit guilt. I knew you were a coward, Elise." "Secure her," ordered Maho, pointing to the girl. "I knew it. That plan wasn't mine. I would never be so stupid as to do that," shouted the headmaster of the ship. "No, but you would be foolish enough to let a group of schoolgirls convince you to follow their idea? Or perhaps too drunk?" asked Maho's mother, stepping forward with several empty bottles found within the headmaster's quarters. "What these girls haven't told you," said Maho as she gestured to Lisa, Elena, and Elise, "is that they faked a letter sent for this school informing them of a transfer on disciplinary action. The real letter was meant only to be a formality, but it would seem high up in competence meant the headmaster of the school never knew why these girls had come and just followed along with what they told him. The headmaster shrunk more into his seat. Oshida looked down at her desk and stood. And if you're to punish those two, then you must punish me, for I too followed along and even believed in the actions we were taking. I should not have gone so far. I see, said the foremost man to the crowd before the BC Freedom commanders. What then shall we do? Many stories have been told, but whose to believe? Knowing now the incompetency of our BC Freedom headmaster, and having the proof of it, I suppose that would be the 13th stroke of the clock to his argument. It would seem that you three will plea as you see will most help your school, and while that is honorable, no justice is served when done at the expense of the innocent. Justice is not had by punishing the innocent so we may capture one guilty person, and an admission, as seen by you three's actions, can be forced by external or internal forces. Thus it is not the pinnacle of proof. Better is it that 10 guilty men are set free than one innocent suffer, he stated as he sat forward. Those 3 I shall leave to the discretion of the home school. But you 3, Andou, he stated before looking to Marie and Oshida. Marie, Oshida. Marie and Oshida. I don't think expulsion is necessary, but I think that you shall be made to help rebuild the school. All the students shall, as one, decided the man at the front of the board. Further discipline may come as needed. We will investigate. But what we have now, well, we can see is not such a cut-and-dry case, as the headmaster here put it. But as far as I can tell, I don't think any further discipline will be needed. If I may, sir, Kuromorimine would like to offer their aid to BC Freedom, stated Maho. That will be well, if you will have it, replied the man at the front of the board. And Saunders High would like to as well, added Maho. Call them. Tell them that they may. Now go on, you 3, get some rest. It looks like you've been to hell and back, said the man. Andou made her way out of the Justice Building with the help of her friends. They reached the stairs when Maho approached them. You 3 showed a lot of camaraderie out there, she stated. We've been through a lot, replied Andou. I guess when you find yourself punching your own friend on the ground, you come to see that there's a lot in life that we take for granted. Indeed there is, stated Maho. Would you care to join us? Asked Marie. What for? Asked Maho. We're having a sleepover. Like old times, stated Oshida. Maho smiled at them but shook her head. But maybe I'll have a drink with you, she said as she walked towards them. And with that, the 4 walked silently into the early morning's darkness.